Recently, I attended a medical symposium in Western Islands, and the CEO for Western Islands provided their audit. It indicated that trauma was the leading cause of admission to Mount Again General Hospital. And the leading cause for trauma is alcohol consumption. Mr. Speaker, before I do, let me point out two important papers, and they're here. And these two papers were written by a U.S. government-sanctioned group of researchers, because in the 1990s, the people of USA actually faced similar problems as we are facing, unprecedented law and order issues. And unlike us, they make informed decisions. They do researches. Unfortunately, in this country, we listen to dilettantes, people who have little experience, but people who can speak. In the most powerful country in the whole world, they base their policies based on researches and scientific data, Mr. Speaker. And these are the two papers, Mr. Speaker. One is entitled Understanding Why Crime Fell in the 1990s, 4 factors that explain the decline and 6 that do not. And the second one is written by the National Institute of Justice, sanctioned by the US government. I just want to list the 4 factors, Mr. Speaker, before I go to my questions. Mr. Speaker, the 4 factors that showed, this is a literature review that was done, a systemic literature review that was done, comparing thousands of papers on law and order. And the 4 factors that show and that have an impact, a significant impact on law and order issues is: number 1, increase in the number of police personnel. Number 2, rising prison populations. What that, Mr. Speaker, what it actually means is that arrests are being done by the police. People are being arrested. Number 3, waiving crack epidemic. Mr. Speaker, what that means is that they realize that the abuse of crack has actually led to the increasing epidemic. So they decided to put laws to restrict that drug, illicit drug. Number 4, Mr. Speaker, and final point, they legalized abortion. What that means is that there were good family units looking after wanted children and not unwanted children. And those 4 factors have been shown. And in this country, we would say raising children in good homes. And those factors have actually shown to significantly reduce crime. Mr. Speaker, my simple questions are: why has there been no arrest in Enga and elsewhere, even after there is overwhelming evidence in social media of obvious culprits wielding guns after committing a crime, and those crime lords who are encouraging them and supporting them and funding them? Number 2, Mr. Speaker, as the government lost its authority, power, and legitimacy to effect arrests, you have to tell the good people, Mr. Speaker, the minister has to tell the good people of PNG whether the security forces no longer have the power to do arrests. Because in Enga currently, there has not been a single arrest. As the government lost its legitimacy and authority, Mr. Speaker. Number 3, my good minister, I will give you a good example of one person that needs to be arrested in Enga. That DFAT, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade of the Australian government, has actually built a beautiful market for the people of Wade, and has costed 13 million kina. After the market was opened, there is one person who enjoys all the contracts from the national government, from the provincial government, and from some districts in Enga, sponsors people to harass women in the market and to chase women and girls out of the market and to ensure that the market remains closed. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the good police minister. I have raised this complaint personally, and it's 1 year after my complaints have been raised, there has been no attempt to actually arrest that culprit. My good police minister, I have also reached out to police from other provinces to come on board to arrest this person, because I was thinking that police within the province were sort of, aiding and abetting the convict. So what happens? After spending 3 weeks in the province, the police from outside cannot even arrest him, that culprit, and he lives in the center of Wabe. My good police minister, is this not an example of state-sponsored terrorism? And this is the case nationwide. Mr. Speaker, a fish rots from the head. And when we have two sets of laws, one for ourselves in this parliament with our cronies, and one for the ordinary people on the streets, you will see escalation of law and order in the country.
That's the problem.
It is a travesty of justice, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, through you, Mr. Minister, can you tell the people of PNG today that you being unfairly vilified by the people of this nation for the dismal performance of your ministry? You have to be candid and truthful to the people of Papua New Guinea. Are the leaders interfering with your mandated duty? And is this political interference sanctioned by the Hennessy or the Maraperoso government? Number 5, why are there no alcohol bans in Hanga and other provinces where there's been a rise in law and order? Recently, I attended a medical symposium in Western Islands, and the CEO for Western Islands provided a audit. It indicated that trauma was the leading cause of admission to Mount Again General Hospital. And the leading cause for trauma is alcohol consumption. Now, there is evidence right there for you to use to ban alcohol in those provinces. Mr. Minister, is it too difficult to ban alcohol in those provinces? Is the sale of alcohol more important than the lives of the people?
Honorable Member for Wabek, we have a point of order. Member for notice.
A good member for Wabek. The legal ban is authorized by the provincial legal license on this issue of legal ban. But if he's talking about a law and order,
Honorable Member, are you trying to answer the question?
And we got a body that regulate and legal business.
Honorable Member, you resume your seat. Your point of order is out of order. It seems to be like answering the question that is the minister will be responsible to answer. Honorable Member, you go ahead, make your speech short and get your question done.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's always good to have people who want to make themselves relevant on the floor of Parliament.
Yes.
This issue, Mr. Speaker. This issue is crippling the country as we speak. And recently, there was a heinous crime connected in the minister's home region.
Honorable Member, make your question.
Mr. Speaker, are you using scientific evidence, my minister? We're getting word from the establishment that law and order will get a huge chunk of funding in next year's budget. So, Mr. Speaker, can the good minister tell this floor, is he using scientific evidence to make informed decisions, or is he simply listening to politicians? The final question, Mr. Speaker. What are your strategies, Mr. Minister, for the coming year? As I'm hearing, law and order will be getting priority in this budget. Are they evidence-based? Have you got any numbers? Has the good Minister for Statistics provided you with any numbers in terms of the families, in terms of good families, in terms of people who are living with other people? You know, those are the things that need to be provided to you to make informed decisions. Because we are already sick and tired of listening to people who come on the floor and speak from their limited experiences. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister for Internal Security, before I ask you a question, let me interrupt you. I, on behalf of the chair, look up at the gallery. We have some students from our schools visiting Parliament and here with us on the gallery. I, on behalf of the Parliament, welcome them to the Parliament. Honourable Minister, you can respond to the question.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Before I do provide a reply to my good member from Wabeg, Honorable Lino, me like kisim sila time tu lo, given big la tokama mas lo, from General Hospital. Lo continue to provide him service, lo mipla leaders inside lo government because health has always been one of our biggest challenges for this country. So me talk big la mas na acknowledgement. Migim big la talk thank you long. Good la honorable member Blomilong asking all this la series of questions. Firstly, let me also take this time to just point out that when you highlighted the United States to Papua New Guinea, they're almost 231 years old.
Yep.
We're only 49 years old.
That's right.
So they're a mature state. So they'll have all the technologies and they will have enough data to be able to provide all that. So my good member, but I do get your point. And everything that we need to be doing in the country must be based on data. And we've always said this, and that's one of the reasons why we also, all of us have been encouraged to ensure that we collaborate with Minister for Administrative Services Law. Make sure you meet the data below the population. You meet guest to us, plenty of work below. So that all boils down again to having those data available for us to make decisions. You ask about arresting perpetrators inside Long, Wabeko inside Long, province Blimiloenga. My good member, first and foremost, there has to be a formal complaint. Bami must find out this la complaint and stop where. So they put him this la complaint or this la particular person that you're referring to.
Honourable Minister, we have a point of order. Honourable Member, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I just mentioned to you, I am the complainant. I put the complaint, and it's been there for 1 year now.
Honourable Member, your point of order is in order. Allow the Minister to continue.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Let me just also advise our good honourable member. I'm a legislator. What you're referring to is operational matter. I will have to ask the Commissioner and identify if that has been formally lodged. And I thank you for highlighting that. Also, it's important to know that when you ask about the liquor licensing, that's the responsibility of the provincial government. You are part of the provincial government. You should take responsibility, invoke that. It's part of your provincial executive council meeting. Now you may regulate him. But I mean, not just you, all of us. Liquor is a challenge for all of us. And I thank you also for highlighting some of the scenarios that have actually transpired on Bougainville. Law and order, Mr. Pluyimulgata. When it comes to you asking about data, we're not going to look back and say we have not done enough in the past. What I'm going to tell you that now is that as part of this Mara Peroso government, we have made tremendous efforts in terms of our intelligence. We have started strong collaboration with the United States to help us with strengthening our intelligence. And that's a step that we are taking forward now into the future for a better PNG come 2025, celebrating our independence 50th anniversary. So we're working closely with our intelligence from the United States, the country that you highlighted. They've got the ability and capability and understanding of the type of support they will provide to us to ensure that we have enough programs and skill set to be able to provide a sound advice for government. And everything that we must be doing moving forward as a government must be based on intelligence. And that has been one of our biggest challenges that we've faced. Apart from the obvious frontline lack of policing in terms of our numbers, you may not change the numbers believe me overnight, but Mara Peroso government, you may start in recruitment business. Police department, they may ask him, you may all get too long. You may partner one time police, or sign him MOU. And I thank members that have reached out with the department to sign an MOU for our reservists. We want to encourage all districts and provinces, particularly districts, to utilize your law and order component of your DSIP to now activate your reservist. Hopefully, you can actually activate a quota of about 100 per district. That will automatically increase. If we have 96 districts, you can increase them 9,600 immediately going forward when we celebrate our 50th anniversary. So this is what we're doing already. And so when you are asking of our plans going forward, I will be bringing a bill in tomorrow that will even help our policemen to elevate how we are going to counter certain situations that we deem to be an act of terrorism. And I will expect all of us to support that bill going forward. Hopefully I've identified and I've answered your questions. If I have missed out on any of your questions, I'll kindly ask if you can forward it to me and I can answer it accordingly. Thank you, Honourable Member.